Welcome, Senators of the Big Three. I warmly welcome you to the International Relations Assembly of Western Arabia. The topic of discussion is the incident remarking the Indus country. I am aware that none of you intended to provoke any action, and some of you were even trying to encourage mediation. But we are here to discuss peace and the prevention of war. And we will do this consulting the Forgotten Codex. The Forgotten Codex is a scripture outlining the way to end war as we know it.
Actually, Curator, I have some evidence of my own. I am Representative Hemmings from the Anatolian state, and here is my evidence. You can see it is a map of the Old World from around 550 BC. You see the Indians and the Russians have expanded massively, so how do you know this isn't a ploy for land?
Representing my country of India, you have messed with the wrong civilization. Your accusations are preposterous and you will remember this. Me, Representative Minsk, will not stand for these accusations against my country as well. I will twist the future and bend it towards Russia, as it should always be. I will spread truth to the people who deserve it. It is truth they want, Hemmings. It's truth I'll give them when the time is right.
Hello everybody, and today we are going to be checking out a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 27 of our series, and in the last episode, if you've not seen it, we saw the creation of a brand new state over here in the Yucatan Peninsula, the finalization of the Macedonian Civil War resulting with 2 successor states, and the officiation of World War I, also known as the War of the Three Thrones. In this episode, we are going to see the beginnings of that war as well as a couple of other events, so make sure to stick around if you are interested in the video. And if you do enjoy today's video, then please consider liking and subscribing to get our goal of 1.5k by the end of the year. You can ring the notification bell to be notified whenever I post. You can join the Discord server. We do a whole bunch of cool stuff there talking about WICSO, making flags and maps. And you can also join the channel membership to get perks such as early access to videos and much more. And yeah, now we can get straight into our scenario. Now, if you haven't watched the last episode, and if you haven't watched the last episode, then go watch it. I don't know why you're still here. Go. Leave. I'm waiting. Go. Leave! But if you haven't watched the last episode, then you would not know that war has been officiated between the Trapezoid, Square, and Diamond Alliance, basically between India, Russia, and Turkey. And we're going to see the beginning stages of that war with immediate front lines start to break out. Troops on the border between Russia and Ukraine are going to start to pour into the country, as they have been planning for this for a very long time. All of these countries knew war was going to come, they just never knew when. We also see Greater Romania is going to pierce into the west of Ukraine, but Ukraine is not entirely useless, as a Brown Team division inside their country is going to move out into Caucasia, protecting the Brown Team border with Russia. Now, a portion of this should be colored as Brown Team troops because this is the southern part of the front line where the Brown Team is funding the military involvement, and they're going to start to move into Russian territory. We also see Pink Kazakhstan is going to move out into Russian territory, moving with the Anatolians, but we are going to see the Russians move a division out into the Pink Kazakhs, getting threateningly close to their capital. And with the immediate fighting, it seems pretty evenly matched between Russia and Turkey, but you also have to bring into account the Middle Eastern theater, which is probably one of the most interesting segments of the war. Brown Team divisions have not found their way into Lebanon just yet, so they are very underdefended, leading Mesopotamia to pierce the front line into their country. They expand into the vast areas, as most of the Lebanese military, like the only military that exists, is in the major cities. And that's pretty bad because now the Pink Team is just going to destroy your inner areas. We also see the Pink Team is having increased success over here by the Persian Gulf, invading into South Caspia and getting to the border of Persia. But jumping over here to India, we are going to see a Red Team division go into Purple Team territory, immediately capturing a major city due to genius logistical moves. Their goal is to cut off the capital from the rest of the mainland, aka the bulk of the military, so if they do this, then that's basically like death for the Purple Team. But we're also going to see a division pierce into the north of their country to attempt to wipe out communications between the south and the rebellion that they were trying to maintain peace with. Eventually, the entirety of the northeastern areas are captured, and Red Team military can start to move further out from their borders, going into Afghanistan. This is accommodated by the red team also funding the military of the Indus country, moving out into their previous territory, capturing all of their previous territory. And as of now, I would say it is a tie between Russia and India in the remarks of like who's winning. But now the Persian Gulf theater will begin. A lot of red team military assets are stationed over here in the UAE/Oman, and like I think it's actually more UAE because its capital is physically in the UAE. But those Indian military assets are going to go across the Persian Gulf and make a landing over here in the very tip of this gulf. They're going to be able to lay siege to this major city, in which they're going to carry it out for about 2 months. And another ambiguous landing is going to be made over here by the southeast of this gulf. But you might be wondering, what is Western Arabia doing in all of this? After all, they are one of the strongest countries in the world, and they, like I said in the previous episode, they have turned to a warmongering ideology. Well, patience is key. In the realm of geopolitics and war, jumping immediately is going to eventually get you demolished. And that is why Western Arabia, for the beginning stages of this war, has sat back and done nothing. Other than, hold the peace conference, which didn't lead in peace, actually led to the beginning of World War I. But yeah, Western Arabia has just been chillin'. But now going over here to Azerbaijan, we are going to see increased losses for the Russians being demonstrated over here as brown team military is going to pierce into the state. They are successful, immediately capturing a major city and forming a formidable front line for the Azerbaijani military to defend against. And South Caspia is also going to assist in this. And them and the brown team are going to get threateningly close to Baku, or at least the WICSO comparison of it. But going over here to Afghanistan, we are going to see increased losses for them as well. It's going really bad for the square lines, at least the ones that are kind of secluded. Because Afghanistan would realistically fall really easily because they are surrounded by 3 Diamond Alliance members and the perpetrator of the Trapezoid Alliance. I'm forgetting my own alliance names, by the way. But Turkmenistan is going to move, capturing a major city, encouraging them to capture the entirety of the Afghanistani coastline here on the Caspian Sea. Up until now, my sentences have been pretty, ill-made, so I'm gonna try and make it a little better. Because I do want this war to be, pretty nice in the terms of narration. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that. The Turks will make their front line more expansionist out here in the east, so they're going to threaten this major city over here by trying to connect up over here with the South Caspians. And doing that will eliminate any communications held between Afghanistan and, the Caspian Sea. The South Caspians are going to move out from their border, attempting to link up with this spearhead over here conducted by the Turkmenistan country. And eventually they're going to link up, and this allows them to reap the benefits of this outer urban area. And with the end of it, that is going to look like this, a devastating loss for Afghanistan. But Afghanistan sees a little bit of success, at least somewhere. They are going to see a little bit of pushback over here with a counteroffensive being orchestrated by the, Afghan country. But they're also going to pierce into Persian territory. Remember, this is a tripolar system, meaning that the Afghan country has to simultaneously fend off basically all the alliances that they're fending up against, meaning that they have to maintain a counteroffensive as well as an offensive. And that's going pretty well for them. They're able to create a pretty versatile front line against the Persians. And yeah, they're actually doing pretty well. There's not much else to say. But going over here to the South Caspian Sea, we see that the South Caspian country has seen a lot of successes with Azerbaijan and the Afghan country, but they are kind of sleeping on this front line over here by Mesopotamia. And this is where Purple Persia is going to help them out. They are going to regain the entirety of the South Caspian Persian Gulf areas. And a South Caspian military group is going to pierce and capture a major city, capturing the entirety of the Persian Gulf coast from the Mesopotamians. But they're also going to create a new front line over here, attempting to eliminate all networks between military groups up here who were, conspiracizing to create a front line into the Caspians. But this is also for the purpose of capturing the administrative capital of Mesopotamia. And yeah, the Mesopotamians are kind of faltering over here by the South Caspian Sea. But somewhere they are not faltering is over here in Lebanon, as they're easily able to move out and spread and cut networks over here, actually eliminating connections between the capital and this major city. And with that, the major city is going to fall, and the rest of the territory here, basically being encircled by the Mesopotamians, is going to fall under Anatolian control. Speaking of said Anatolians, they are going to move further into the Azerbaijani coast, not the coast, the country. My vocabulary is kind of cooked if you couldn't tell. But Brown Team incursions are going to prove evident as they are seeing increased success capturing the rural areas of the country, and Azerbaijan is very weak. But Russia and Romania are going to pull through to gain one of the first victories we've seen for the Square Alliance in this war, because of course we've seen Afghanistan and Azerbaijan have been mercilessly slaughtered by the other alliances. But Romania and Russia are going to contribute greatly to the Square Team Alliance success by moving into Ukraine. Networks are going to be enjoyed and connected between military groups of both Russians and Romanians. And with this, they are going to get threateningly close to this major city, which would evidently probably lead to the collapse of Ukraine. The Romanians are able to capture this one, but the reason why this one doesn't, contribute to the collapse of Ukraine is because that was already captured. When I said the last statement, it's a little confusing, but, just roll with it. But speaking of that city, it is going to be captured. And now Ukraine is starting to crumble from the inside out because there is going to be a rebellion inside their country. This rebellion is going to be stationed over here in Crimea, wanting to form their own separate nation. And actually, that's a really bad color, so how about I choose this? That looks pretty good. So Crimea is going to break away from the sovereign Ukrainian state. And we also see presence of this over here by the east of the Sea of Azov. And as the Crimeans are of course being funded by the Russians and the Romanians, which is kind of a douchey move, they're going to capture the Ukrainian capital, leading to the entire country falling under Brown Team control. But Brown Team military assets are not very apparent here because we are going to see the military occupational lines are going to be drawn up, and in the end we see the first country falling in this war being Ukraine. And all of this fighting is good and all for the progression of the war, but there is another alliance that has been sitting patiently over here, and that is the Circle Alliance. The Circle Alliance has seen little to no military combat in the last couple of episodes because they have been mainly a attack one, attack all alliance, meaning that of course they are going to stay on the defensive. But there are a lot of countries encouraging them to get involved in this war, but of course for now they are going to abstain from such. But going down here to India, we are going to see increased successes being carried out by said India. The entire northeast of the Persians are going to collapse, with the entirety of the northeast collapsing. I don't know why I said that twice. But the Red Team military is having no issue sweeping through these areas, and they are going to set up a non-aggression pact with the Afghanistan country. Now, when I say non-aggression pact, of course there is still going to be aggression, but they are agreeing on this joint invasion of the Purple Persians, and in which case there's going to be less bloodshed for each side, causing them to be able to save their own military by not fighting each other for the time being. And Persia looks like it's on the brink of collapse, but South Caspian forces have just arrived in the country. These forces are going to be able to mediate this landing over here conducted by Red Team military assets and Orange Team infantry, basically eliminating the entire thing. But this one over here is rapidly expanding around the more economically dependent areas. And even with military help, the Persians are still seeing falter. Going over here to Lebanon though, we are going to see that the Brown Team occupational forces are going to be completely pushed out. And if you're wondering, the Western Arabians are allowing the Red Team to move military assets through them. So currently the Red Team is transporting military assets through them to Mesopotamia, and that is why they have seen a lot of success. The Mesopotamians capture a major city, and they're also going to start to get dangerously close to the Mediterranean. But somewhere where they see little to no success is over here because the South Caspians are starting to impede further into their country. This causes them to pull out a large amount of military assets to defend against these growing Caspian front lines, and of which they are going to be able to partially, push back against, but most of it is going to be establishing a stalemate. And speaking of stalemate, this is the first major stalemate we have seen in the war, and all front lines have essentially come to a halt. But over here, they haven't come to a halt. The Russians have just easily captured the Pink Team capital. But no fear, because the Pink Team is just going to go ahead and move their capital, which is not very good. So actually, let me phrase that a little bit differently. The capital, of course, is represented by the big yellow dot, and that is indicating that all of their legislation, their buildings, their big legislation and judicial buildings, they're located in this dot. But the Northern Caspians have just declared that their capital has been moved here. Now, of course, their judicial and legislative assets are not in this area, so their capital, yes, it is down here, but in a sort of botanical sense, it is still up here. And moving your capital is definitely not the best thing to do because, of course, like I said, it doesn't move any of those assets. It doesn't benefit you anything. So the pink team is showing signs of a possible collapse, indicating the same thing that happened over here by Ukraine. But speaking of Ukraine, them and Russia are going to work to fight against the Anatolians, pushing out their advancements and moving into their territory to try and establish the sovereignty of South Ukraine / Crimea. And in the back of your head, you might be wondering, what are the top 3 strongest countries doing? Now, of course, that's pretty easy to answer. Number 1 and number 2 are fighting against each other, being India and Anatolia. But what is number 3 doing? Well, what is a little bit alarming is that China has not made any statement that they will abstain from involvement in this war. Of course, I don't think any country would do that because if they're bordering an alliance that is going to lose, then they might as well just, wait out for it. I'm not saying that the Trapezoid Alliance is going to lose, but I am saying that China is kind of using one of those strategies. So for now, they are going to remain neutral. Going back over here to Afghanistan, we see the final military cooperation being seen between them and the red team before they start fighting again. And in which case, the red team is going to violate this by pushing out all of their, claims over here by this area of the front line. Because it went from that to this. And all of it has now been inherited into the red team. And now we can see the red team is going to start to ensue a policy of mass expansion due to military threat. And Afghanistan and Purple Persia have been, obliterated over here. They've been traded, tricked, and absolutely demolished by the Red Indians. But now going over here to the South Caspian and Turkmenistan claims, they are going to be able to expand said claims, but Turkmenistan more than South Caspia because, of course, South Caspia is dealing with all of this. Basically, they have to deal with all of this, and that's a lot. So some of this is going to be inherited by the Turkmenistani country because they are, better suited to do this. And they're moving further down into Afghan territory, getting threateningly close to their capital city. Going over here to the Indus Rebellion, they're going to be able to gain more ground, moving here into the more rural areas of Afghanistan, kind of the more mountainous areas. And these guys are specially trained for conditions such. They're also going to gain this territory from the red team. Of course, the red team, they didn't, lose this. This was given to the Indus country so they could reclaim all of their territory that was lost from the Afghan-Indus unification. And yeah, if I were to say, then I will say that the Trapezoid Alliance is seeing the most amount of success here. And that is going to be evident as the Diamond Alliance is going to be weakened even more, with Romanians moving into Thrice. They capture a major city, and eventually they are going to be able to easily push into these areas. Remember the POWs that were harbored by Prussia, initiated by Russia? Of course, that rebellion is still seeing some remnants here in Thrice. And the rebellion lives on as an autonomous region of the Romanian occupied territory, and with that statement, the entirety of Thrice is going to fall. But somewhere we do see a success for the Anatolians is that they are going to be able to completely eradicate the Azerbaijani country. They're able to do this with a sweeping campaign in the north, almost capturing the entire capital. And in which case, military assets from the South Caspians are going to just capture the capital. And boom, the second country has now officially fell. Because of course, the only country that has officially fallen as of now is the Ukrainian country. And they still sort of live on as a rebellion, which is more Russian aligned. But yeah, Azerbaijan is now the second to fall. And of course, this is because that Azerbaijan had basically no connection to their alliance at all. Of course, ideologically it was connected, but physically they couldn't actually get any supplies from their allies. But going over here to Afghanistan, they are going to be able to get their head out of the sand because they are going to push back against the Turkmenistan country and impede into their territory. This operation sees a lot of success moving into the Turkmenistan country and actually capturing a major city. And assets are going to have to push back because, well, they're being pushed back, and also because they can also falter over here to this front line, which is continuously expanding in the favor of Afghanistan. We are also going to see the Afghans are going to move into the previous South Caspian occupied territory, and then they're going to move north, recapturing 2 major cities, leaving all of the Turkmenistan occupied territory over here by their border, and they're able to reconnect up with the Caspian coast that they once withheld. But now a tide is going to strike the war. This tide will create a ripple and a wave so strong it could probably wipe out major occupational zones, and that is going to be Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan, it might not be worth all of the hype that I just gave it, but of course they are very strong and on the border of some weaker countries. This is going to allow them to move into the Purple Kazakhs territory, capturing basically the outskirts of their capital within a couple of weeks. and they're also going to be able to move into the Golden Kazakhstan country. And now the Diamond Alliance has found a formidable foe over here in Kyrgyzstan, allying themselves with the Red Indians. But that will do it for today's scenario. I hope you guys did enjoy. I know I enjoyed. This war is going to be very enjoyable for me. But if you did enjoy, then please consider liking and subscribing. We are on the road to 1.5k by the end of the year. Ringing the notification bell, joining the Discord server, and the membership. It all helps, spread my channel out throughout the algorithm. But yeah, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.
And thank you to our channel members. This includes Swifty Mapping, BFDIA Channel Y, the official Geomapper, and Upgraded Bro. Thank you guys for being in the membership, and if you're not in the membership, then make sure to go ahead and check it out down below.